of those situations where we find out about a movie and we just can't wait to see it. The only problem is, it only just got announced, so it's gonna take a couple years to actually get produced, and then even longer to get into theaters. That happened to me, and it was a wild ride. That movie was The Disaster Artist, based on the book by Greg Sestero. This was a film that was based on the actual production of Tommy Wiseau's masterpiece, The Room. You know The Room, right? It's a beautiful, wonderful, not at all terrible movie that was a passion project gone horribly wrong, let's just put it that way. And I'm gonna tell you what it was like to have to wait for The Disaster Artist to come out after its very first announcement, all the anticipation I had, and then I'm gonna tell you if it lived up to the hype or not. So, here we go. I was a big fan of the Nostalgia Critic at the time, and after the whole Justin Carmichael thing, I really regret that. But he introduced me to Tommy Wiseau's The Room, and I thought, no way. It can't be that bad. And then I checked it out for myself, and guess what? It was. And I loved it. And so I did some research and found out that Greg Sestero had his own book. And if you don't know, Greg Sestero was Mark. You know Mark, as in...
Oh, hi Mark.
I read the book and it all made sense. All the production difficulties, all of Tommy's strange behaviors, it was great. And it also helped me understand The Room a little bit better. Now I could see how it came to be. Now I had perspective for what the mindset was like at the time. And a little while after reading it, I found out that they were going to make a movie starring the Franco brothers and with some involvement with Seth Rogen. They said it was going to be releasing in a few years, and I was waiting with bated breath. And I kept tuning in for more updates. Day after day, week after week, year after year, millennium after millennium. Okay, maybe not that long, but still. I was unbelievably hyped, and as time went on, it became an obsession of mine to figure out when this thing was finally going to come out. Even when big hits like Deadpool were releasing, all I could think of was, cool, but what about The Disaster Artist? I've been hearing about that thing, but it seems like it hasn't really been progressing. It's been, 3 years? And then in 2017, it finally came out, and I was so ready to see it. Keep in mind, the new Star Wars film was announced, and I was even more excited to see The Disaster Artist than that. Now make of that what you will. We watched it opening weekend, and what did I think of it? Did it live up to the hype? Absolutely. This thing was just about everything I was hoping for. There were a couple small issues, but I'll get to those at the end. First of all, when I saw the trailer for this thing for the very first time, I was pretty scared of James Franco's portrayal. To me, he didn't really seem like Tommy, but more so a guy who was just doing an okay Tommy impersonation. But when I saw the film, I changed my mind. Within 3 minutes, I believed that I was seeing Tommy Wiseau right there on the screen. He nails his performance, not just with the voice, but also his mannerisms and emotions too. Greg has done pretty well too, it's just the writing is a little bit weird with him. He seems a little bit more eager to go along with what Tommy says rather than just the frustrated middleman. But still, I think this was great. Both of the leads were fantastic in their roles and they really sold who they were. Again, to me, they weren't actors. They really were Greg Sestero and Tommy Wiseau. As for everybody else, they were also perfectly cast. I knew Seth Rogen was going to play Sandy long before I ever looked at the cast list, because when I was reading The Disaster Artist, I pictured Sandy to look exactly like Seth Rogen. And hey, it didn't disappoint. And here's just a general note I have for the actors in general. This film was obviously made by fans of The Room. They knew all the memes and they loved them and they knew the film inside and out, but they didn't use this film to be one giant joke. They very easily could have turned this into something like Tommy Wiseau's Batman, like you can find on YouTube or something, but they made it a legitimate movie. You feel for Greg, you feel for Tommy, you even feel for Dan Janjigian, who played Chris R.
My god, this guy monster.
And this also goes right into the tone of the film too. The book is a comedy, let's be real. It's a real comedy that actually happened, but it's a comedy nonetheless. Greg wanted us to look at the production of The Room and laugh, but also to feel a little something for everyone that was involved. The movie does exactly that. While it does place a little bit more focus on the comedy than the book did, it still keeps the heart. Even though it wasn't really true to life, I do like the scene where Tommy leaves the premiere of The Room and then laments to Greg that everyone finds his movie terrible. This is kinda what happened in real life. But instead of everyone laughing, what really happened was that there was a giant walkout and everyone who stayed was thoroughly unimpressed. So I'm sure something like this did happen, just not with laughing. Anyways, this scene exemplifies one of the biggest themes in the movie as well as in the book: friendship. Throughout this entire ordeal, throughout all the years of their friendship, Greg has put up with so much stuff that Tommy has put him through, and a lot of it didn't even make it into the movie. But still, even with the stuff that they have here, we've seen that Greg is definitely a loyal guy through and through. No matter what Tommy does to him, he keeps coming back for more because he knows that, to put it simply, Tommy needs him. He's a lonely, sad man. And hey, they do have good chemistry together and they have fun times when they're not getting in trouble, so why not? Of course, there were a lot of times where Greg was pushed near his breaking point, like in the soccer ball scene or when he had to shave his beard, but through and through, he remained a loyal friend to Tommy, especially when Tommy needed a friend most when the room ended up being a failure. And it's at this moment where you realize, yeah, this was a crazy journey, but for both parties, it was all worth it. Everything ended up okay. And that's what a good friendship movie is supposed to do. It's supposed to make the friends go through all kinds of turmoil, but in the end, the audience is supposed to look at them and go, yeah, this was all worth it. So I mentioned the comedy, the actors, and the writing, but how was it as an adaptation? Well, I was a little disappointed with how much they cut out because they had to slice out a lot. It almost felt like the production of The Room was a little bit of an afterthought, like an Act 3 climax or something. Most of the movie was focused on the less interesting part of the book. Greg going through acting school and trying to find himself, and Tommy going along for the ride. It's not like that part of the book was bad, but let's face it, we all came to read the part about the room. Still, it's a good part of the book, and very enjoyable, and they definitely adapted it very well. But then when we get to the room stuff, it all feels a little rushed. Not too bad, not enough to ruin the movie or really be anything more than a nitpick. I just wish they would have had a little bit more. I know the movie is already a little long, but maybe could have been a little longer or split it up into 2 films, I don't know. But I will say, they did do a good job of deciding what to keep and what to get rid of. There was no part where I was sitting in the theater going, wait a minute, where's this scene? We needed that! Not once. And everything was adapted very well. Of course, there were some exaggerations for comedic effect, but for the most part, it remained very true to the book, to the point where I gotta say this is up there with Coraline or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory as one of the most loyal book adaptations I've ever seen. So yeah, the movie was funny, poignant, and a great adaptation, so needless to say, it definitely lived up to the hype. And let me tell you, there was so much hype going into this. You have no idea. Patchy the Pirate, when he was about to watch the SpongeBob Lost episode, that was nothing. And I walked out of the theater very impressed. I didn't feel like my time waiting and waiting was spent wasted. I got exactly what I wanted and was expecting. And hey, I saw it with my dad, so I got to introduce him to the room, and he's never forgotten it to this very day. He still has the nightmares. But hype movies don't always turn out like the disaster artists, do they? There's a lot of movies out there that are made by people that just want to make a quick dollar. They don't care about the source material, they don't care about the fans, they just want to get something out there as soon as possible. I know that I'm gonna sound like an angry neckbeard here, but look at the Star Wars remakes. Everyone was excited for those, and they didn't turn out the best at all. They just remade 2 of the classic films and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. As many, like Mark Hamill himself, have pointed out, the movie was just soulless. What was the point? See, there's a reason why I mentioned one of them at the beginning of this video. Those 2 films were coming out at the same time, and I was more personally hyped for The Disaster Artist for my own reasons. But of course, everyone was hyped for that Star Wars film. It was gonna be great, and it's definitely not a remake this time, guys. But putting them side by side, you can definitely tell a difference. For one of them's a sci-fi movie and the other is not, but one of them was a cash grab and the other one was a legitimate effort to make a good story and a good adaptation. And when you're extremely hyped for a movie, I think you know which one you'd rather have, right? No, not the soulless one. What? No! Well, folks, thanks for watching the video. What'd you guys think? What movie have you been really hyped for? Did it live up to the hype? Comment below and let me know because I'm always excited to hear what you guys have to say. Today's comment of the day goes to Jared Levette. You done good, Trevor. You done good. Ha, I get it. But yeah, thanks. It was really hard to choose comment of the day, honestly. I chose this one just because of the reference. I had to go with it. But we got so many amazing responses to that video, and I wanted to thank every single one of you Remaking the Lorax may or may not happen someday, but now, there's a better idea out there in the world, and I can say it's better because just about everyone seems to agree. Real quick, I'd like to thank our Patreon executive producers, Raziel, Leaf Razor, Azarius, Tanner Kapishki, Whoop-Doo, Michael Bellamy, and MD the Dude. If you too would like your name read at the end of every Media Mementos video, then consider donating to our Patreon, which has a link in the description below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time!